Welcome you back to the Patrick Netherton Show right here on the 1130 The Tiger. He's Rogers. I'm Patrick. Hope everyone is having a good day. And a man that's had a series of good days last week and leading into this week is the head man of the McNeese baseball team. He is Justin Hill, who is getting ready for regional play at TCU in Fort Worth. Jay Hill, how the heck are you, man?
Man, I'm good. I'm a lot better than last time I saw you.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. We were the wrong end of a really, really tough series and a tough call. And as low as we got there, we're probably about as high as we are as we can be right now.
Well, the interesting thing is you're the defending champions, but you just had to skip a year, right? You won it in 19, and then everything obviously went haywire in 20, and then you turn around. I'm curious, you guys get to come back, you get the year of eligibility back. Do you feel like that because of the experience of 19, that helped with your guys as you got down the stretch in the tournament?
Yeah, I think that probably helped. I think the fact that we were able to get there through everything else we had to go through was part of the reasons. I think it's hard to pinpoint one singular thing that allowed us to get there, and obviously get a chance to dogpile again and play probably one of the most energized regional game or conference games in a tournament that I've been. So hats off to Southeastern for a fantastic host site for that, and I think you're going to probably see it stay on campus there or at somewhere. But man, it was there's so many. I mean, what where do we start? I don't think we're going to have to do a couple of segments on this.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about all the things. So.
Yeah, and we're going to get into some of that, but the reason I asked is because you do have a veteran team, and you've got guys who've been through this and know what it feels like to win a tournament. And as you and I both know, experience is as valuable as anything you can possibly have.
Absolutely. That was something Coach Burtman always talked about as far as going to Omaha. It's really hard to win it your first year there, just because you don't know how it works. You don't know where to eat and, which gate to go in and, all the different things that goes with it. But once you've had some familiarity with it, it helps. It helps. Just, lining up for the national anthem for the championship game across from your team, across from your opponent. And I think we're going to have the same opportunity when we go to a regional. We've obviously, it's a different regional, but, the same pomp and circumstance is still there as far as what you've got to do. I thought we were good enough to go win a regional with that team that we had the first time. Obviously, everybody's good enough to do it once you get down to 64 teams. But I think we have a similar opportunity. We may just be a little bit more prepared this time, myself included.
Yeah. By the way, you're making my producer, Rogers Hampton, exceptionally happy with the fact that we can hear BP going on behind you. He's very fired up. He loves that sound.
The best part about it is we're done with BP. We're done. Like, I've already dismissed the team. These guys are going extra.
That's what you love, right? That's what you love.
That's my boys.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Okay, so for those that don't know, you mentioned Coach Burtman. You were one of Skip's last teams. You were one of his last guys as a pitcher. Obviously, that means he's going to
definitely the last guy he chose to pitch that day. I promise you. So.
Well, so obviously we know Skip has a large tree and a lot of guys who've been through there, either as players or coaches. I'm curious what of his and how much of his philosophies and teachings do you still keep with you, and how much have you garnered going in, because you've been in a lot of stops as an assistant before you got that head coaching job. How much of what you do now is Skip, and how much is an amalgamation of your other coaches that you've been around?
I absolutely love that question, because I think it all probably starts with Coach Burtman, because everybody that I've associated with at some point was connected directly to that tree in some way, shape, or form. I would say, just a few of the guys I've had a chance to work with, coached under, coached me, J.R. Teagues, who was at Southeastern Louisiana, is now the athletic director. Mark Johnson, who was at Texas A&M, who was at Sam Houston State University before. And he's the one that kickstarted that program and kind of created a juggernaut. You've got Jeff Shake Snyder, who was my high school coach, was also a coach at head coach at ULM. We won a championship there in 2012. You got Mitch Gaspard, who's obviously was a head coach at North. Gave me my first college job as a volunteer coach. Had a chance to coach and play under Smoke Laval. I would say I'm whereas a lot of times coaches are kind of purebred as far as their philosophy and things. I'm probably a little bit more of a mutt when it comes to all this. There's so many different things I've had a chance to draw on, and you really do have to kind of make it your own. But I think if you saw certain things, or maybe when Raspberry was hitting against Bacchus, left on left, first and second, nobody out, you'd probably go, hey, that's a little bit of Coach Burtman right there. He's going to hit, with his best hitter instead of bunt him over.
Right.
But then, when we go with the safety squeeze, you'd probably think of some Mitch Gaspard, and start the running and doing some. So, I think you'll probably see a little bit. It all goes to your personnel, but if there's anything that all of those guys taught me, players make the plays. Players make the plays. We've got to get out of their way. We've got to find the best nine, and we got to inspire those guys and just try to put them in the best possible situation to succeed. And you just love on them and do everything you can to take care of those guys.
Well, for the folks that don't know, and I'm assuming probably most that are listening don't know, to have been taught by both Skip Burtman and J.R. Teagues means you could not have been coached by two totally different baseball philosophies than those two guys. It is J.R. Teagues is ultimate small ball, hit and run, bunt, sacrifices, all of that. Skip, obviously, gorilla ball back when it was in its heyday. Sit back and wait on the 3-run homer. Talking to Justin Hill, the head coach of the McNeese Cowboys. All right, let's talk about then what you've had to overcome to get here. And we're going to go through some of your guys here in just a bit. But, you and I talked, and you mentioned when you were in Natchitoches, the series didn't go your way, but you and I talked about off-the-field stuff. We weren't concerned about what was going on the field. And you mentioned the struggles that are still going on, after both hurricanes had come through, and you've dealt with a pandemic and, torrential rains that have come through here recently. Just, can you encapsulate what all emotionally, physically that y'all have had to endure just to have a baseball season at all?
No, I probably can't articulate it. It's probably in the emotion that you saw in the video.
Yeah.
Of me throwing my clipboard and getting a bear hug and hugging my wife and jumping on the dog pile and just I've never done that before in my life. That there was, and I think I said I blacked out, which I kind of did. It was just it was such an emotional release and it was such a great moment, and I was so happy for our guys because it's not always in life do you get to actually see the fruits of your labor and your commitment and your loyalty and your hard work. And we did, and that's special. And our guys are going to get to have a memento, a ring, even though we're still inscribing it, as we go. But we're going to have something to remember this by. And it's going to change people's lives, impact lives throughout their lives. Throughout, and everything with all the guys that we have. And, no, I can't. The thing is, Lake Charles is a blue collar town, man. We've got people that work and, they spend their hard earned money if they're supporting their kids or they're supporting us, whether it's buying buying into the booster club or buying season tickets or whatever it is. These folks they're blue collar, and it's a hard working town, and they didn't wait, but as far as to start kind of the recovery process and things, but that we still need some help, and we're not going to whine about it. And I can tell you that the folks here, myself included, we're not going to whine about it, but we still need some help. It's funny, people still don't realize that we had a federal relief package to help out. And it's still the longest it's ever happened. It hasn't gone through Congress, hasn't been signed by the president to be able to get those things. And it didn't even make sense to me. I don't understand why not. And people need help. People need help getting back in their homes. People need help getting back in their businesses. I can speak from it personally. I mean, I still got a piece of plywood over a window in the front of my house. I still got a 2x4, bracing up a door. I still don't have the correct garage door on mine. And that's just my house. Not to mention our field and my wife's business and, different things. I mean, because it's still some stuff pandemic related. But just because you have insurance doesn't mean it's all fixed. I mean, there's a workforce shortage. There's supply shortage because of different things. And so people think we've got everything fixed. It's been 9 months and it's still not. So, man, if we could have just been, some type of relief, and a little bit of, breath of fresh air for some people, if we've done that, then, the journey's been worth it.
Well, and you mentioned the emotion, and the thing you didn't mention when you said you jumped on the dog pile, and by the way, good hang time, good air, you solid vertical. The thing you didn't mention though is you were a bit of a sobbing mess, and rightfully so. Like you were openly sobbing, and look, I was crying. I tuned in for the last inning because I had done some other stuff. I was like, oh God, the game's on. Let me turn it on real quick. I turned it on. It's the last inning. Your guy's out there trying to preserve the 2-1 win, and he's facing Colton Cowser, who's first round draft pick, and manages to get him out and gets through it. And then you come out there and you're sobbing, and I'm crying. I'm in my own. And I'm like, I don't know your guys. Obviously, I know Matt Bonnet and I know you, but I don't know any of your guys. I don't have any relationship with any of your players. But I could feel the emotion, and I was feeling it. And Justin, it was so pure, man. And I hope it makes people understand just what as you mentioned, a relief it was, an opportunity for some positivity in people's lives. And I don't want to overstate it, but it's very much for Lake Charles, much like when the Saints came back in 2005 after Katrina, right? It's that kind of emotion, and I think that's what makes sports great in a lot of ways, is you can have that emotional release via sports for a team that maybe you don't really know anybody on. And I think that's really cool. So I loved the emotion that you showed, and I think it was absolutely deserved, and it got me choked up. And man, it just made me incredibly happy for y'all. Y'all are a great story.
I appreciate that. I really do. I mean, I don't know if Tom Rinaldi's busy right now, but I mean, I feel like it's something he needs to voice over, or if we need to, I know he doesn't work for ESPN, if we need a 30 for 30. No, I couldn't hold it back. And I know I never try to hold it back. I know I'm stoic in the dugout. That's kind of my thing. I mean, but that was so much. You just kind of have an out of body experience there. And, I mean, as soon as I jump on the dog pile, next thing is, I mean, I think somebody actually got me. I jumped into the stands and grabbed my wife, and saw her again. And yeah, it was, I can't even put into words. I think the video does the words.
Yeah.
Has to give you what it was. But you're right. It was an emotional moment. And one of those you'll just never forget.
And the interesting thing to me is, right, what was your reaction in 19?
Not the same.
Right.
Not the same. It was excited. It was probably more tense. It was probably, all the things. Because, the thing was, we had just, we had won the regular season, and I guess in 17, that was probably a little bit different of an emotional moment. Because, winning the full season is a little bit different than the tournament, kind of going from the first weekend to the next. And then, and that was my first one. You know what I mean? It was my first one. And, we did something. We wanted to be different. We didn't want to run a cutthroat program. We wanted to do things right. We wanted to honor kids' scholarships. We wanted to be a positive influence in the community. We wanted to, to be a light. We wanted to be different in a positive way, not just to be different to be different. And, until it takes a championship, it takes winning to validate that in outsiders' eyes. And the first time we did it, the regular season and all that kind of stuff, it's almost like there was this validation. There was this, okay, it does work. You get this belief system that comes from your faith and what you want to do and how you want to do it. And when you see it, when you get through it, there's this release of emotion. And it was probably in a similar way, just a much more, because, I mean, if you just, this wasn't a one-time thing. I mean, you can go through. I've tried to be as transparent as possible through social media and what's going on, how things are going. I've tried to do that just so I could be real, because I think that's important for my guys for me to be vulnerable, for me to be real, so my guys can know how to be vulnerable and be real. I think that's important. It's a challenging time, for kids to be able to put themselves out there and show emotion, and and so I feel like I need to model that, and to be vulnerable at times. I mean, I know that's not the macho thing to do, and some people look at it as a sign of weakness, but I think in reality, I think it has a chance to be a sign of strength.
Yeah.
When you can own up to your weaknesses, because if you own your weaknesses, other people can't use them against you.
Well, Justin, let me tell you something, man. Being emotional and showing your heart if that's a weakness, then just count me among the weak. Like I'm sorry. I don't buy that.
We can be on the same team.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not a hugely emotional guy. I'm like you and Bobby Barbier at Northwestern, right? We're pretty stoic dudes. But at the same time, when the emotion calls for it, when it's warranted, you let it out, and that's why I was getting choked up watching you cry after the championship, because it means something, and look, it's a fantastic model for your kids. And in the immediate post game, Justin, it's very obvious how much your kids love you, right? Like that's obvious, because they're all seeking you out, they're all looking for a hug, they give you the Gatorade bath, all of that stuff. Man, that was absolutely amazing to watch, because you and I both have been with coaches, have worked with coaches that their players don't care for them that much. Right? Like sometimes a guy, he might be good, but the players may not necessarily like them that much. But it's obvious your players love you.
Well, I appreciate that. Our job's not for us our job's not for them to like us. It's our job to love them and help them grow. And if the love and appreciation is reciprocated, that is an added bonus. But we know it's going to pay off in the end. We know it always pays off.
Well,
always pays off.
And you mentioned that, everyone's dealt with the pandemic. We've all had to deal with COVID-19 within college athletics. Everyone's dealt with that. But we mentioned hurricanes. Obviously, there was an ice storm. There were floods. You've been through it all. And I'm curious how much different your job has been as a coach when you have to go from being just a coach and mentoring your players to now I've got to be a counselor. Now I've got to be someone that is there for them as a father figure. I mean, I can't imagine the number of hats that you've had to wear dealing with not only the pandemic, but everything else that's happened.
Well, I'll say this. I've got a great coaching staff, and I've got a great group of leaders that I didn't have to go through this by myself. I've got some grown men on my team that had their world taken away from them, and then they get it back, and then they get it taken away again, and they were fighting too. I can promise you, I wasn't pushing this bus all by myself, and I had a lot of help, and for that, I'm grateful. I had a great administration. My wife has been fantastic with this. I've shared this many times, and if I didn't have my faith, none of it would have been possible. Not one bit of it. And I told the guys that. So whether they believe or not, they've been impacted by somebody who does, and there's no change in that.
All right, so before we let you go, got to talk about your team, because you have a couple of the great – well, you've got one of the arguably the best beard in all of college athletics, maybe even all of athletics in general in Raspberry, who we affectionately refer to as the Viking. We called him the Viking all weekend on our broadcast.
I like that.
Yeah, we called him the Viking all during our broadcast. And you've got Will Dion, Baby Kershaw.
Yeah.
So I know we're going to see Dion. I'm assuming you're running him out there in game one. If you're not going to tell, don't worry about it. But tell me a little bit about kind of the personality of this team, and obviously Dion on the mound. with the baby Kershaw, the left-handed, putting the glove back behind him when he sets, all that stuff. And then, guys like Raspberry who you are allowing the freedom to have that sort of self-expression with that incredible beard-hair combo.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic beard. I don't know how long he's worked on it, but, a college baseball needs to be on notice with that beard. He's getting married in July, and Katie, his fiance, has already said it's got to be gone.
Wow!
So let's enjoy greatness while we have it. That's probably a Coach Burtman thing, letting the kids be the kids. As long as they're not detracting away from the team or making it about them. And that's his personality. Same thing with Dion and what he does. I mean, he's good, man. I know you see this Kershaw little stuff and that kind of he does, but man, he can pitch inside the strike zone. He can get outs inside the strike zone. He's pretty special. He's going to play professional baseball, whether it's getting drafted this year, the following year, whatever it is. Kid's good, and he's gonna have a chance to make some money playing baseball. And then we got Nate Fisback who's been with us. I think he's leading the conference for RBIs. You got Reed Bork, him and Fisback up the middle are probably as entertaining as anything. Peyton Harden, who's a good center fielder, leadoff guy. He's just the Energizer Bunny. He gets going, man. It's all kinds of fun. And then, Jake Dickerson's probably as much as the heartbeat of the team as anything. He plays first base, hits in the 5-hole. It's a special group, man. It's a special group, and I'm just so thankful I get at least another week with them.
Yeah, and that'll be on display in the Fort Worth Regional at TCU. Going to be a heck of a lot of fun. We're obviously going to be keeping up. I'm not kidding you. If you want to watch a superb pitcher, and look, we mentioned the baby Kershaw stuff, right? I mean, he's left-handed. He puts the glove back behind him. He looks a lot like Kershaw when he delivers. But as you mentioned, the dude's living in the strike zone. He's getting strikeouts. The curveball is absolutely insane. If you want to watch an entertaining frontline starter, a guy that can really pitch it, then Will Dion is your man. I promise you will not be disappointed.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Justin, brother, man, I'm so excited for y'all, so happy for y'all. Obviously, the emotion of winning the conference tournament. If the Demons weren't going to win it, you were the only team I was pulling for there, and I'm so glad y'all did it.
I appreciate it, Patrick. I really do.
Justin Hill, the head coach of the McNeese Cowboys. Good luck to you, brother.